Have you ever noticed the moment you start talking about bettering yourself, reading more, starting a business, moving abroad, saving money, and suddenly you're doing too much? You know that nagging judgment that you get from people who you actually thought were your friends and even your family. It almost seems as if your ambition is making these people uncomfortable. But you know what? That discomfort says more about them than it says about you. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay and I'm an American expat who moved to Dominican Republic 4 years ago with my family, quit my 9-to-5, took my talents online, and now I'm here living in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. So today we're going to dive into a topic that I like to call broke culture. We're going to break down why this happens, the microaggression that people use to keep you at their level, and why people who have truly succeeded often act completely different from the people we're going to discuss here today. And listen, this is not about shaming anyone, but as we say in the South, a hit dog a holler. But it's about understanding the psychology of the progress and protecting your path. So let's talk real quick about what I call broke culture. And I don't mean just financially broke or how much money you have in your bank account, but mentally, spiritually, and emotionally broke. It's a deeply ingrained mindset. It's a collective agreement. It's often unspoken. It accepts mediocrity, fears change, and it actively or passively discourages individual ambitions, especially when it challenges the group status quo. This mindset often says, well, that's just the way it is, or nobody we know does that. And the most famous one, you think you better than us now? I've heard that a lot too. Broke culture is a space where people mock your dreams, where you're praised to stay in your own lane, and any attempt to rise above that is seen as a threat. And guys, these type of microaggressions are designed to keep you small. And these don't come across as outright hate, but sometimes they're subtle, and I'm talking real subtle. Let me give you a few examples. You tell someone, hey, I'm about to start a business, and their response to you is, oh, everybody trying to do that now. Translation, I hope you fail, because it'll make me feel better about myself. Here's another example. You start talking to people about your goals, and they say, hey, don't get ahead of yourself. Don't forget where you come from. Translation, I can see the gap widening and you're making me feel uncomfortable. And they do that because they want to remind you of your perceived past and your social standing so you can just remain there. Let me talk about another one that's really popular. When you tell people that you're about to move abroad, the first thing they say, you ain't got money for that. Translation, if you succeed, then I would have to admit to myself, I stayed stuck on purpose. Or whenever you share a small win about something, people say, oh, that's cute, but are you really gonna make money from that? I know people have heard that. They try to minimize your effort and sow these seeds of doubt. I remember when I first started my YouTube channel, not this one, but the other one. People would ask me after I started, oh, you still doing that little YouTube? You know, every time you're doing something, especially in our community, you start a business, oh, you still got that little business, or you tell them I'm writing a book, you still writing that little book. It's always that little. But if you keep working and keep working, you get to prove them wrong. Now that little YouTube channel I had, it makes more money than the average salary in America. So I should be asking you, are you still working that little job? These little digs I call broke culture. It always manifests when you're trying to break out of a cycle. When you try to deviate from comfortable norms of your existing circle, you become a mirror. And no one likes to look at themselves in the mirror. And that mirror can reflect uncomfortable truths back to others because they want you at their level. Because if you rise, they will have to confront themselves as to why they didn't. Now here's a fascinating contrast. People who are already where you want to go or on their way to where you want to go are the complete opposite. These people have a prosperity mindset, meaning they think in abundance. They don't look at the glass half empty. They look at the glass half full. When they look out the window, they see the sun. They don't see the specks on the glass. And here's the crazy part. People with more success more money, more freedom, more options. These people never try to shame you for wanting more. Most of the time, in my experience, these people are the most encouraging. They don't judge your ambition, they celebrate it. And I'm gonna tell you why. They respect the hustle because they understand the path. They know the sleepless nights. They know the sacrifices. They know the failures and the perseverance it takes to step outside of the conventional box. They don't see the signs of your struggle as being too much or being too busy. They see it as a necessary part of the journey. If you tell a successful person your hustle idea, most will listen, they'll nod, and they'll offer constructive advice. They'll say things like, that's interesting. Have you ever thought about X, Y, and Z? I struggled with X, and this is how I handled it. So instead of dismissal, you get questions, advice, and sometimes you can get connections. You say you want to move abroad, they say, hey, here's a resource I use. Or you say, I'm trying to get out of debt, and they say, oh, here's a book that helped me. They know it's not easy. They respect the effort because they know what it takes. They recognize that spark and that ambition because they've seen it in themselves. They've been judged. They've had to let people go. They had to sit in rooms where nobody looked like them or believed in them or wanted them to win, and they won anyway. So why do these people get uncomfortable when you grow? Let's be real. Their judgments toward you isn't about your actions. It's all about their discomfort. When you grow, you expose the fact to them that growth is possible. And that's threatening for people who made excuses to stay the same. Listen, your ambitions makes them confront their own choices. They realize they could have pursued that dream. They could have took those risks, and they could have invested in themselves. And the fact that you're doing it and they're not creates an internal dissonance for them. And I'll be real, it's not malicious in every case. Sometimes it's just a subconscious defense mechanism. They can be thinking, if they succeed, what does it say about me for not trying? Or they could be saying, if it's possible for them, why can't it be possible for me? Maybe I'm not doing enough. And this self-reflection can be painful because it's easier to pull you back to their level than to elevate themselves. I'll tell you one of the hardest things for a person to do, and it's self-reflect. But when you self-reflect, you have to be honest. And a lot of times we can't be honest with ourselves. And that's why we stay in the position that we stay in. I remember when I started self-reflecting, man, it was painful because I had to confront all of my flaws. Ones that I knew, I just didn't want to change them, or ones that I didn't know I had and needed to change. Guys, if you can do an honest self-reflection, your life will change almost immediately. So it's not always that your family or friends don't believe in you. It's mostly they don't believe in themselves. And your progress shines the light on their potential and their procrastination. So they'll criticize you, distract you, guilt trip you, to keep you tied to their situation and their complacency. And not because you're wrong, remember, because you're the mirror. And let me say this again. This isn't about making more money. This is about the mindset and the actions that money represents. It's about a shift in perspective and what happens when you decide, I'm not living like this anymore. I remember saying that to myself. It's about stepping into environments where your ambitions doesn't feel like it's weird, but normal, where people celebrate your success instead of side-eyeing it. You start to think differently, spending differently. You start to speak differently, and you realize you don't owe anybody shit for wanting more. Not more stuff, but more peace, more freedom, and more impact. Listen, I used to feel a certain way about wanting more because the environment I come from, people try to shame you for wanting more or leaving the hood and not coming back, that type of bullshit. I got to the point where I just started saying, you know what? I don't give a damn. If you feel comfortable enough of speaking out of your mouth to someone and trying to shame them for wanting more, and your ass is broke, that has nothing to do with me. It's obviously that you're uncomfortable with your own situation. So if people tell me I'm uppity, bougie, or he always at nice restaurants, or he always hanging around the rich people, you know what? I love it. Keep saying that shit because it lets me know that I'm doing the right thing. And obviously, your broke ass doing something wrong because you're in the same place you was 10, 15, 20 years ago. The whole point of life is growth. not stagnation. Why do we want to stay in the same place that we were 10, 15, 20 years ago? It makes absolutely no sense to me. And for my people, it's hard for us to break those chains. That's why you see all these entertainers, especially rappers, they always have to go back to the hood. Why are you in the hood, man? That's the whole point of you making money, so you can stay the hell out the hood. What is that gonna do for me hanging out in the hood? But that's just the mindset that we have. We think that we can only have a good time, or we associate real with poverty or the hood or poor. Man, we gotta get out of that mindset. That's broke culture. So what do you do when you encounter broke culture? The answer is, let them be uncomfortable. Recognize it for what it is, because it's not a reflection of your potential. It's a reflection of their own internal struggles. And you ain't got time to let nobody else's fear be your reality. And here's another thing you can do when you encounter broke culture. I've had to do it. You don't have to cut people off, but you can limit your exposure to certain types of people. Now, if people are too toxic, then you gotta cut them off. Point blank, period. Cut them off. You need to choose who you share your dreams and your ambitions with. Because man, it's a lot of dream killers out there. And here's another thing you can do. You can actively seek prosperity mindset people. Gravitate toward people who are also growing or going in the same direction that you're going in, who celebrate your wins, who offer you genuine encouragement and constructive criticism. These type of people lift you higher, not pull you down. So yes, your growth is gonna make a lot of people uncomfortable, but let them be. That is not your burden to carry around. Listen, you're not responsible for how small your light make others feel. You're responsible for shining it anyway. If you're around people who roll their eyes when you say you want better, get from around them. You don't owe them any loyalty, because broke culture, it's loud, but growth is even louder. So always remember, your journey to self-improvement and success is yours alone. So you can't let the discomfort of others dictate your potential. Guys, I would love to hear your experiences with broke culture in the comment section below. Let me know if you face any type of judgment. How did you navigate it? That way we all can learn. And before I go, guys, I've created a weekly newsletter called Live Your Best Life. Click the link in the video description below if you're interested in money, self-improvement, and living abroad. This newsletter is for you. I'll see you guys over there. And until then, remember, always keep your goals at the forefront of your mind. Always live in the present, because that's the only way you're gonna live your best life. And I'm out. Peace.
Je begon aan mijn best life, yeah. Je begon aan mijn best life, yeah. Something you and me, oh. Je begon aan mijn best life, yeah. Jumping, flexing,